Gulf Coast to my top city, Troy. You know what I mean? All the way up on the East Coast, where it all began. You know what I mean? See how everybody coming along this morning. Checking on the people first. Property and all that other stuff comes second and third. So look, I understand there's power out. If your cars are still standing, you should be able to still maintain your devices. Only reason why I throw that in there, I live on the Gulf Coast, a hurricane prone place. So you make do. You go back to what your people once did. If the power is out, all right, cool. You don't know how long, and you within the neighborhoods or the community, get those grills pumped up, feed those babies, keep them occupied, busy, and picking up stuff and feed them. You know what I mean? I got an email at the top, you know what I'm saying? If somebody haven't heard from somebody, that's fine. I had to do it. You can email me, and we'll see if we can reach them. And then connect those two dots back together. You have to pull together during these times. Pull together. Everything comes off the table. Who don't like who or who don't fool with who, that could be set aside. But I do truly hope everybody's okay and your loved ones and whatnot. Got spring break this coming up week. The babies first. Keep them occupied. Teach them some things. Most importantly of all, give them something to read. Tell them a little something about the family. Those of you traveling, all right, if you have any intentions on coming to the Gulf Coast, be careful. Do not be out there playing in that Gulf of America, formerly called the Gulf of Mexico. You understand? Do not fool around in the Gulf. I've been here 25 years. I set my feet in that water on the Gulf side once. That was good enough. Two, I'm an avid fisherman. So that long pier thing that goes, if you're here in Pensacola anyway, I don't know what they do in Panama City, Destin. Know a little bit about Fort Walton. But Pensacola, we had a pier that went pretty decent out in that water. And we fish. Live bait, cut bait, icky, sticky, icky, all that. And I've seen what's out there. And then I glimpse over to my left and look at the beach. Say, oh, heck no, man. Worry about it. Do not be messing around out in that water is the point, all right? Keep it shut. You don't have nothing to prove. Them rip currents are deadly. And I know how to swim. But I still can't promise myself that I wouldn't be scared with a current that's pushing me out. And my first natural instinct is to swim back to shore. And you're not going nowhere. It's still going to take you out. However, if you can relax, if you can pull your wits together and ride it, just stay afloat. Don't swim on nothing. Just stay afloat. It will take you out and bring you back in. That will happen. And then when it's bringing you back in, that's fine. You want to start your doggy paddle or your stroke, come on back to shore. But I don't want to hear anything about anybody messing around out there in that water and hurt yourself, hurt your family. All right? For the spring breakers that's coming to the Gulf Coast. Or I don't know how it really works on the East Coast, and I guess I should be a little bit embarrassed because I'm from an East Coast state. That's why I guess the beach don't really impress me that much. But I love to fish. I know how to fish, and I'm very, very, very good at it. So that's my thing. So anyway, that's the spring breakers, Gulf Coast, water, dangerous. Pay attention to the flags. Talk to somebody, find somebody that's a local. If you do decide you're going to go against the grain, all right, at least be out there with the lifeguards, whatnot. All right, that's moving along. To the people, to the storm, though, you know what I mean? I was being monitored as I was monitoring what was going on. And those of us that try to stay in front of things kind of knew something was coming because they said so. So you take that time and come up with your plan, not just for your individual house, but a rally point or something where you and the family can meet up, see who needs what, do a head count, and then go from there. I stand on that. I've done it, put it together, it works, and you have to look out for one another. I don't know who's going to have church today, but I will imagine that it will definitely be a topic of discussion in every house. And that's fine. That's kind of how you're supposed to use that thing. And then once again, you use that principle to look after one another. Take the Trump, Elon, take all that off the table for a few minutes. It's enough of y'all out there about to lose your mind. And I guess I probably would too if I didn't know history. If I didn't talk to my own family members as a child that was born in the late 1800s. I've always figured as technology was growing through over the years, no matter what, if they can make it, I can make it. Maybe not as far. History brings about terms and term limits and timing or missed time or missed opportunity during a certain time. It happens. Other than that, consider I'm not saying nobody got to do nothing, but consider, give it some serious thought of trying to learn one more thing about where you come from and about your family, your mother, as well as your father. Take notes. I promise you that day will come where you're going to have to prove where you came from. Sometimes what seems to be a bad thing, a storm, hurricane, tornado, earthquake, has this thing of, even though the event itself is horrific, it has this thing of also bringing out the best in a lot of people. And you have to take advantage of that. If you can hold and maintain that, when the event is gone, the weather is calm, everything seems to be back to normal. Maybe you'll remember some of the things you discussed when it was bad. You can maybe continue on that good streak. You know what I mean? Just something to consider. You don't have to. I'm just saying. Coming together should be at the top of the list. It's a coming together thing. Lock into that. Everybody preach it almost no differently than we hum or sing a certain verse off of any song. Like how it's in your memory. Well, you treat it the same way. Politics. And could easily still be on the subject of the storm. Strolling, I saw many people mentioning about Troy having a storm shelter. And maybe that's true. It was a little bit misleading on, I think it was don't hold me to this. I think it was WAKA or something to that effect, was mentioning about Troy's storm shelter. So then I went back to my device and looked at a few things that was being discussed before and during the storm about how they wish Troy had a storm shelter. And I said to myself, this right here is how things get wobbled, watered down, outright lied on or about. A neutral person would be in the middle, like either they have one or they don't. Or do they have one and only a certain amount of people know that there's one and the other part of the people don't? Like, I have to wait for somebody to tell me. Like, put it in the chat. Put it in the thing. If Troy has one or it does not have one. Or if Pike County Remember, Troy is just a city, one of what about 3, 4 cities inside of Pike County. Does Pike County have a storm shelter? Consider this. Maybe this could be a good time to take a few of the babies and let them study storm patterns. Maybe someday they'll become a meteorologist. Like, seriously, like, take that device in your hand. I don't even call it a cell phone. I wouldn't dare. These things are computers, literally. And check that thing out. What is a low? What is a high pressure? When the two meet, what happens? When they subside, what happens? But that storm shelter report had me scratching my head. And I wasn't dare fixing to pick up my phone and call somebody in the middle of the storm and ask them, hey, by the way, is there a storm shelter up there? I mean, like, they may love you, but they may get heated with you. But does Troy have a storm shelter? Or it don't? Because the goodness gracious, if they don't, I'm personally going to write that news um, organization that put it in their uh, report that I was reading about this storm shelter. Or I'm going to go find the person or people who was mentioning that there wasn't, to not do that unless they know they for sure. It's one or the other. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, either they have one or they don't. And that'll be the end of that. So I'll be, I mean, I have family in Troy. You know what I'm saying? So I also know that there's been storms that come through before. And we manage. There will be some that come later. And once again, you'll manage, but you learn from them. That's the most important thing. You take your notes, mental notes. Like, all right, we find ourselves in this position again. This is what we're going to do. And then you quarterback that thing, and then you know, disperse it out amongst the family, friends, neighbors. But I'm puzzled on this. They do or they don't. One news organization saying they do, but then I have people that's, I'm assuming, feet on the ground that's saying that they don't, and they're begging for one, asking for one, wanting one. My personal opinion, you know what? I'll say that for another day. I don't want to do that today. Anyway, moving right along. Reach out to one another, check on one another, slow it down. Your utility people, I'm sure there's other counties, so there should be help coming. One day I'll put some video up and show you what I mean when there's a hurricane coming up in a certain part of Florida here on the Gulf Coast. and you'll see those utility trucks, 12, 15, sometimes 20 of them, straight line, same company, hauling butt on their way to get set up on the outside of where the most damage is projected to be. And then when the storm passes by, they spread out. It's really cool too how they have it all mapped out, and they go to work. They go to work. So be patient. It's all right if you're a little chilly. You can always put a little something on. Then if it was dead up summer hot, you can't take off enough. For those are the ones, or now, remember, we're looking out for one another. Yesterday was somebody else. Today is you. Tomorrow it can be them. Just that simple. That's just how it goes. So, those of you that do have your utilities intact, invite a family member over whose utilities and lights and stuff are compromised at this moment. Yeah, that's what you do. Have them to come on over and hang on out. Send a scout out or leave a scout to make the phone call or make the smoke signal for that matter when the lights are back on. Anyway, we're going to be starting a little subject matter moving forward here. Had to do a lot of work, had to teach myself a lot. Some I had to be reminded of when it comes down to the computer systems and making them harmonized. Mm-hmm. So we did that part. I do believe. We're going to be going over some subject matter that may bother some people. Some will just breeze right by it. Some will check it out. Some will bear witness. I'm a historian. My training, I can't really explain. It goes back so far. I love making note of things. Nothing to come out the door and share at the moment. Every so often, or every blue moon, I may come across a person that made a note of the same thing. History tells you where you've been, where you're at, and where you're trying to go. I read a report, and I'm hoping somebody will come in and make some sense out of it. Obama agreed with the Trump and Elon dual dodge. Now, I'm going to double check the double check and then double check that. However, it wouldn't shock me, not from what I seen, the way them two was kicking it. when they was at President Carter's funeral. It was an eye opener. It definitely was an eye opener. But I thought to myself, what's really going on or what's not going on? Fam, y'all better pay attention. Always do your own research. If it means something to you. If it don't mean nothing to you, don't even sweat it. Don't even worry about it. It'll catch up with you before you catch up with it. So that's how we see that. Other than that, I did want to check on and speak on the storm. I see a few little things I need to tattle with a little bit. But nevertheless, I will be back to get this show on the road. I think I have a lot of information to dispense. I'm in nothing for no clout. I leave that to them kids. We need to kind of re-examine our terms and conditions. There's some things that are on the table that, in my humble opinion, need to be cleaned off. If we can be in agreement on that, then that's a start. Other than that, check on your people. When they throw the flag up and say y'all can roll, go out and take a look. While checking on your people, especially the elders and the young folks, especially the ones that's just now went out on their own. Check on them. When the old uncles and the aunties start speaking on what to do, fall in. You've already been there and done that. So fall in. Until the next time, this was Zon coming through to check on the people from the storm. Remind you during spring break, if you're coming to the Gulf of America, I got to get the flow out my mouth right. I like that name though, Gulf of America. I know the history when they called it the Gulf of Mexico. Uh-huh. But anyway, little story for another day. Don't be playing around in that water. It's beautiful. It's clear. The beaches are beautiful. Enjoy that. Put your little feet in. Don't be out there playing around in that water. It's more of that than there is of you. Okay? So keep that in mind. Keep your eyes on the babies. Drive safely. Look out for you know who. Try to make sure the kids have fun. Or get some rest. Or catch up on some schoolwork. Or help knock out some things around the house. Whatever. Just keep them busy. And then we'll come back and check on you on the next time. Peace.